what is the latest there, Jeff, on the ankle injury for such a key defender for this Seahawks defense?
Well, there is no need to cry, Mina. I've got great news for you. Nick Emmanwori is going to be okay. Mike McDonald actually said in his press conference that Emmanwori actually should play in Sunday's game. They are fully expecting him to play in that game. He does anticipate being overcautious in the coming days in practice after Emmanwori did roll his ankle in practice. He had to be helped off the practice field. It was a scary moment for the Seahawks, but Emmanwori did tell me that he got imaging on that ankle and that it did not reveal anything of a high ankle sprain. So very good news there. We should point out that Emmanwori actually did miss 3 games earlier this season after suffering a high ankle sprain in week 1. He said it is the same ankle, but it is not nearly as bad. Also, context into how good of a player he is. This is the kind of guy that has been compared to Kyle Hamilton, who Mike McDonald coached in Baltimore. He is used all over the field. So even though he is a rookie, he is incredibly important to this Ravens team. So great news there. One last update for you. Sam Darnold was limited in practice with an oblique issue, but again, also being cautious. He is full go and will start in Sunday's game, Laura.
During the regular season, no team played a cover-2 defense more often than the Seahawks, and Drake Maye struggled against a cover-2, throwing 2 touchdowns against 3 picks and ranking 21st in QBR against cover-2. He was sacked on nearly 10% of dropbacks, by the way, when opponents play cover-2. So, Mina, before we get into the specifics of the injury and this defense and all of that, even though it does sound like, of course, that Emmanwori is going to play, they may be cautious, just how important is he to what Seattle wants to do?
I think he's really important because of what you saw there, which is the split safety structure. So first of all, Jeff hit on it, the versatility. He plays in the box, he's in the slot, he's a blitzer. I talked to Fred, he mentioned Kyle Hamilton as a comp. I talked to Fred Warner earlier, and he gave me 2 comps, Derwin James and Avatar, like an avatar. So I thought that was a good comp for Emmanwori. But I would say this, his run defense is, I think, where he would be missed the most, because his presence is what allows Seattle to defend the run at such a high level from those split safety structures without putting an extra linebacker. He is basically a hybrid DB linebacker, but his presence on the field is what allows them to make it feel like you have so many bodies in coverage, but you're still stout against the run. So I think it would be massive for Seattle if he doesn't play. Sounds like he's going to, though.
Yeah, when Seattle plays their cover 2, I think a couple things that stand out from tape of why they're good at it. Number one, they're very physical at the corner position on the outside, so the timing is often disrupted. 2, the safeties do a great job of understanding route concepts, playing their deep half, of playing with vision underneath. I think also those second-level defenders are a big-time thing. They'll change their fronts. Like, look how wide those defensive tackles are, so you create a little bit of chaos from a rush perspective, but it's tied to the coverage with 7 people in coverage. So Witherspoon's playing your nickel. Emmanwori's playing the backside, quote, linebacker position. There's 6 DBs on the field, and the big thing is that's that vision that I'm talking about with those safeties who have the deep half, but those underneath defenders, they're not spot dropping often. They're still playing that cover 2 zone while also having a feel for route concepts. And so, like we often talk about on the show, like match. It's not match, and it's not like true zone to me, in my opinion. Like, I think they have a good understanding of this is my area, but this is the route you're trying to run. And Emmanwori kind of playing that linebacker role there is a massive deal on early downs.
Well, I also think we have to be clear with people that when we talk about 2 high safety defenses, it isn't always just cover 2, right? It's quarter halves. It's poach, right? You saw poach there where the backside safety was pushing to number 3 because it was a 3-by-1 formation, and you had the corner locked on the backside. And so I believe that's what Drake Maye is going to have to deal with more so, not just recognizing that it's split safety, but what sort of split safety defense is it, right? Which side is playing what? How will the underneath defenders be matching? And I believe that's where he struggled, because go back to the second half of the second Bills game, and now there was a lot of pressure 100%. In that game, but he always had to figure it out after the football was snapped. And to me, as many times as the Seattle Seahawks can make Drake Maye do that, figure out what the defense is, the better chance they have of putting pressure on it.
Yeah, I had to go all the way back to college days when I was a part of drops, and teams would try to flood areas when we were in cover 2, try to give you a levels concept to make that in-between back linebacker in the middle of the field determine if I'm coming down or staying high. And I remember feeling like I'm in a terrible situation if they get these backs underneath and I got to tackle guys in open space. So I look at guys with Travion Henderson. You think about getting even just if you get a slot area in a slot player in that area with Hunter Henry as well, you're making them make a determination. But to RC's point, I think that's going to be the most critical thing. What are they in? Because when you find cover 2, there's always areas to attack.
Right.
What version?
Yeah, what version of it? If the seam is open and the corner is staying low, taking the flat, you have to be accurate and on time to be able to put that there before the safety get there. And the great ones put it there on wide receiver so they can make a move on the safety and maybe get some runs after catch. I'll be interested to see how Josh McDaniels attack this, but I think it'll be some concept of levels against Seattle just to make them determine how do they want to come up and play it. And that's why the tackling comes so important for this team, and Emmanwori especially.
The Rams have had success against Seattle with what you're describing. I loved your point about the backs. Our excellent researcher Luke mentioned to me he thought Seattle should consider, or pardon me, New England should consider putting both of their backs on the field a decent amount, which of course harkens back to the last Super Bowl when these teams played. And you remember New England lived in pony personnel with Sony Michel and Blunt. But for Seattle, often they'll mug up their linebackers and then they pop out. So there are opportunities that creates spatially, because if you have one of those running backs as a pass catching option, usually there is grass. Stevenson is also a very good pass protector, so he can stay in and handle a blitzer if it comes to that.
And I would say, like, from the pass game perspective, we talked about this. The pass game that had the most success was the Rams, right? Matthew is probably one of the best throwers of in between the middle of the field, but also I'm throwing here and looking there. So, like, moving guys. So Drake Maye's going to have a great game with Cummins. Like, Witherspoon's, what, 6'1"?
Yeah.
No,
Emmanwori's
Witherspoon's 5'11".
So, okay, Emmanwori's
The roster says 6'1".
He plays like he's 6'1".
The other two are 6'3" and 6'4".
So, like, just their length of getting the ball over those defenders, but trying to move them in between, that's going to be the biggest challenge.
To your point about post-snap, so many of the shots Matthew hit where they would present to two high structure and then rotate to one, he would identify that, find the one-on-one. Can Drake Maye do the same when Seattle does that?
And that's what's important, too. When we talked about the complementary pieces the New England Patriots have in their skill room, they don't have Puka Nacua. They don't have a route runner like Devontae Adams. And that was how we saw the Rams attack them. Someone is going to have to be strong in between the numbers. And that's why I think Hunter Henry can be a bigger part of this game, along with Stephon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs has to win early with quickness against this defense.
That Hunter Henry connection with Drake Maye is very strong. They're best friends on the team. They know each other really well. They feel really comfortable with each other. Huge. Seattle's defense dominant this season, leading the NFL in scoring efficiency and third down conversion percentage, including the postseason. This is what Drake Maye's up against. The Patriots' D was no slouch either, though, second in scoring and third in efficiency. But they were even better when Christian Gonzalez and Milton Williams played, allowing just 14.5 points per game, 7 fewer when either was out. Just talking about how impactful those players are. Swagoo, this is your part of the show.
Come on.
All right? We're talking about the D-lines on both sides. We saved it for the best part, the halfway through the show. It's the highest rated mark of the show for you. Okay, start us off with what Sam Darnold can expect to see from the Patriots line.
Well, one, this defensive line, to their credit, when they do four-man rush, they've been generating a lot of pressure, a lot of issues for quarterbacks, but it's also what they do in the blitz game as well that helps their D-line be free hitters or even linebackers. If you look at this Denver game, you're getting picks on the interior. This is by design because the pressure in the center of the pocket, to me, is the most important thing when you're playing against Sam Darnold. This leads to an incomplete pass, but I want to show it from this angle to show you how much is going on for this offensive line to try to sift through while guys are still getting free to the quarterback. So as much as we talk about, like, there's been a resurgence for Kayvon Chason. Like, he's been coached. He's been taught how to be an edge rusher. When he was in Jacksonville, he struggled a little bit with his moves. Milton Williams showed what he's showing now when he was in Philadelphia during the playoff run, which is why they extended the contract. But they don't just lean on games by those four guys up front. They add rushers, they simulate pressure, and they create one-on-ones. And I think the best defenses, the best defensive coordinators and guys, y'all done heard me say this 1,000 times. 3 techniques have to dominate football games in order for you to win them at certain points in the game. So regardless of if they bring pressure or if it is Barmore or Milton Williams on the interior, like they were able to be super effective in the first 2 games, I think they have a real shot at winning this game. Make no mistake about it. As much as we've talked about and lamented about Seattle's defense and their D-line especially, this Patriots defensive line is going to have something to say about how this game goes, and they've been playing at a very high level.
So the hardest part with New England's defensive line offensively is you get it from both sides. Very rarely does one side of New England's D-line do a game or a stunt or whatnot. There's, Marcus, your clip, they're
both sides.
They're twisting on both sides. And so from an offensive perspective, like, you can't necessarily know what side you want to send your help to when it comes to a center or a back. And the amount of displacement that it happens from an offensive line perspective is that really different. That's not something that Seattle does. Like, Seattle doesn't often do both sides stunts and twists. So New England does.
To your point, I'm going to be quick, Mina. To your point, Dan, a lot of times it's, determining protection. A lot of teams like to get centers one-on-one. And that's what the twist on both sides does. So when he's sifting for help, he's sifting to a guy
he's backwards looking.
That's running full speed.
Yeah.
Right? And those, like, as good as JK was, he'll tell you, I loved when I had guards on guys and I could come over it, but you can't with both sides running games.
You talked about 3 techs and their importance in the Super Bowl. You think about performances from your Aaron Donalds, your Chris Joneses in recent years. I do not think New England wins this game unless the next day we're talking about Milton Williams and him taking over. Seattle's biggest weakness on their offensive line is the right guard position, arguably the interior in general. The New England Patriots' greatest strength on their defensive line is Williams. With him, they're 6th league-wide in pass rush win. Without him this year, they're 26. He is a force multiplier and a difference maker, and he has to be dominant in this game.
Yeah, I think when you look at this game, both of these defensive lines will play a huge part in who has the ability to win. But I also think that they attack differently. On Seattle's side, the thing I love the most is the second-level disguise and movement. If you're the front of the New England Patriots, you're going to have to sift through where the simulated pressure is going to come from. Where will the 4 guys be or the 5 guys be? And Marcus mentioned getting centers in one-on-ones. For Seattle, it's about getting everyone in one-on-one. And when you get those players in one-on-ones, it's their individual ability to win. And I think that's going to be evident at the left tackle position for the New England Patriots. For me, it's going to be how many times can I get my best players one-on-one with Will Campbell and that left side of the New England Patriots offensive line. And you can do that by the way you disguise and the people you send.
I want to ask you guys this. So we just talked about New England's defensive line and these constant twists and stunts. Seattle is a little bit like Houston.
They'll do it on one side.
Okay, so what do you think Seattle will do? Will they take their overload and put it away from Will Campbell and try to create the one-on-one there, or put the overload to him?
I think you want to put the overload away from Will Campbell.
And you get a one-on-one.
I don't ever want to signify that you can give this guy help.
But don't you think, okay, then I'm automatically going to send help to Will Campbell with my chips and whatnot?
Not when Leonard Williams is on the opposite side.
I'm about to say.
And that's what's so dangerous about the Seattle stunts, which they run a lot, but to your point, it's usually just on one side. Their defensive tackles are so good. Arguably, Leonard Williams is the best player.
They're the stunters, the tackles.
So if you're an offensive line, the communication, we're going to double team him, the looper comes around, so you have to communicate. Your running back, if he's in pass protection, has to also be very aware. And then on top of all that, we're talking about the communication, the challenges of everything they throw at you. They're so deep. I mean, we talk about defensive tackles. Waves of pass rushers is another thing you see in Super Bowls. Seattle has, I would say, they don't have a superstar, but they got stars. I think Leonard Williams is a superstar. Byron Murphy II on the inside. On the outside, Lawrence has been a revelation. Nwosu, Mafe, Hall. Fourth quarter, they're not going to be tired because of that. And to me, that gives them a big advantage in this game.
That's really interesting. And by the way, the Patriots have defeated 3 of the top 5 total defenses from the regular season so far this postseason. But I think we can all agree they haven't seen something exactly like what they'll see from Seattle. Maybe Houston, the closest thing strength-wise of what this defense would be, but
schematically, Houston was so good and so talented, they never tried to trick you.
They're very simple
Seattle
with what
will
they
put
do.
you in positions where communication and adjustment is important.